Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC 237, Namajunas versus Andrade. But before I get into the main card fight predictions, I'll be doing another $20 giveaway for this video. And if you want to know about that, you can check the description below for this video and it'll tell you all that you need to know. And even look in the comment section, I might add something there, give you a little bit of a template for what you need to do, at least in the comment section or the comment section part of what you need to do. And the last but not least for is that whole money thing. I might be discontinuing this whole $20 giveaway thing or $20 cash prize thing because not a lot of people have been participating. The whole point is to have people participate. If only 1 or 2 or 3 people are participating, there's really no point. But I'm at least continue it for maybe this week and next week. But without further ado, let's get to what this video is about. So in our first fight, we have in the lightweight division, Francisco Trinaldo versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. So you got Trinaldo, who's 40, and I'm probably getting older than that, might even turn 41 this year. You got Carlos Diego Ferreira, who's about 35, so, well, 34, 35, so definitely the younger fighter in this fight right here. But neither of them are spring chickens. But looking at Trinaldo being 40, kind of aging a bit, and looking at Carlos Diego Ferreira starting to really string together. Like, Trinaldo really hasn't changed too much. He's always been a big physical striker. He can mix in some takedowns, be heavy, be strong, land some big shots, but more so he's a striker that's like a brick, like hard to take down, hard to deal with, and he can strike with you. Carlos Diego Ferreira, more so, always been more of a well-rounded fighter, but more so jiu-jitsu. But now his striking started to come along real well, and I think he's finally starting to get his stride. I don't think he's going to be the better striker than Trinaldo, and that might be the issue, that Trinaldo can defend his takedowns and keep him on the feet and make it his fight. But I think Ferreira's striking come along real well. I think with that improvement in the striking, he can gain Trinaldo's respect. And I also think that Trinaldo never really had the best cardio to begin with. I think Ferreira can push a pace that causes Trinaldo to start to fatigue, which will allow opportunities. And also with the respect from the striking, he can secure takedowns and take it to more so where he has the biggest advantage. But I think it's going to be a scrappy fight. It's going to be a hard fight. It's stylistically wise a fight that bodes to be a hard fight for both men and not an easy fight for either man. But I think Ferreira is able to, just grind him out, take him to the later rounds in a tough, hard-fought fight, outwork him, basically get him to his realm, wear him out, and get that tap in the third round. So in this fight, I got Carlos Diego Ferreira via third round submission. Now on to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Thiago Alves versus Laureano Staropoli. So going into this fight, I was looking at Staropoli as the guy who should win, but then I had to backtrack and look at his fights, then backtrack and look at Thiago Alves' fights, and look at Staropoli. I think he was 6-1, 7-1, something like that. Less than 10 total fights. Really hasn't fought any good competition up until he got to the UFC, and the best guy he's fought or beat is a guy who's 0-2 in the UFC. So that's really not the best record. I mean, the best background as far as, or the best resume to have going in this fight and to be a favorite. He has good size. He has a good fighting style. He has a good fighting mindset. Maybe not as, smart with his fighting style, but he's still definitely hungry and gritty. He's out there. He's a fighter. He's not like some guy out there trying to be an athlete. He's a fighter. That's a good thing. But maybe you want to go up the upper echelon, you got to be a little bit smarter than he's been fighting, because letting those hands go and just banging will only get you so far. It might get you some fight of the night bonuses, but it will also get you some concussions and also lend to you having a very short career. But as far as striking wise, Staropoli's gonna have about 3 inch height advantage. It's gonna be a little bit longer. And the way he fights, he's gonna look a lot bigger than Thiago Alves as far as height and vertically wise. But I just feel like his technique really just isn't all there yet. He's hasn't really had the best competition yet. He's just coming up in the UFC. He's just budding. And Thiago Alves has been around the UFC for a minute. It might seem that he's fading off, and you might say he got gifted a decision against Max Griffin, which I think he did as well. He got gifted. But he was in that fight. He was dead to rights in the first round. Second round, he had Griffin hurt and won that round. Third round, he landed the harder strikes than Griffin in the third round. But Griffin was in the fight, and he got a couple takedowns in that third round, and he ended the fight on top in that third round. So he thought he won the fight, or maybe he thought the first round should have been a 10-8, or et cetera, et cetera. Max Griffin should have won the fight, but still, you were in there with a guy Max Griffin, who's still a factor in this division. He might not be top 10, top 5, but he's been in there with guys who are right around the title picture. And he's put up a good fight against those guys. Had those guys hurt, a lot of those guys. Beat Mike Perry dominantly for the most part. And Thiago Alves was out there hurting that guy. It was out there competing with that guy. He wasn't out there not looking like he belonged outside of the first round. Second and third round, he looked like he belonged. First round, not so much. You look at the Kuchenko fight. Kuchenko might be all this and all that, but at least outside the UFC, he was kind of fighting at a championship level. Might not be UFC championship level, but still kind of fighting at a championship level outside the UFC. So Shevchenko is not no joke. The guy he lost to, or Kuchenko, whatever his name is, Alexei Kuchenko. You look at Jim Miller. That's a guy who's still game, and then you might even kind of say in a mirror of these guys, both of these guys were top 5 in their divisions at that time. But it might seem like they're out of it, but they still are very much game in their divisions. They might not be no real threat to the title, but they are more game than people give them credit. And I wasn't going to give Thiago Alves his credit, but in this fight, I'm going to have to give him his credit. I think some of his losses might seem worse than they are, because really who he lost with are all people that are factors. And I don't think Staropoli's ready to be a factor just yet. And I think Thiago Alves has a lot more in his tank than people realize. I think his striking is way cleaner than Staropoli. I think Staropoli has a weakness, not a weakness to grappling, but he has a deficiency in grappling. As I looked at some of his early fights, 2 or 3 years ago, which isn't very long for such a short career he has, only having about a handful of fights. So it's really like 2 fights ago, his takedown defense didn't look that sharp. His grappling didn't look that sharp, especially not at this level. And who was he fighting? Like guys who 4-8 and negative records and 8-7. Like, and you're getting taken down by these guys, and guys taking your back. So I think Thiago Alves can have some success in grappling, and on the feet he's more technical. I just really think that it's just a little bit too big of a step up in competition for Staropoli, and people are sleeping on Alves. So I just think Alves, like I said, will be the better and be more technical, and just take advantage of the greenhorn, the guy running forward, a head full of steam, and just pick him apart. But in a very competitive, exciting fight, I got Thiago Alves stopping him late. Not late, but I got him stopping in the second round. So in this fight, I got Thiago Alves via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Jose Aldo versus Alexander Volkanovski. So we have the greatest featherweight of all time versus Alexander Volkanovski, who some people say are particularly one big Twitter account that's not an actual fighter, but just a talker, said that Volkanovski is a bigger, better version of Chad Mendes, which is just straight BS. Volkanovski would get tech fall by Chad Mendes in a straight wrestling match. His striking isn't all that, but he did beat Chad Mendes. He fought a good fight and beat Chad Mendes, stopped him, but certainly his wrestling nowhere near Chad Mendes' wrestling. And if Chad Mendes couldn't barely get a takedown on Aldo, and certainly couldn't even hold Aldo down for more than a split second, I don't think Volkanovski's going to do any better with the takedowns. I think his striking, he has at least a good mind for striking, a good mind for fighting and conserving energy and spending energy. But Jose Aldo, one of the reasons why he's kind of not avoiding 5-round fights, because he doesn't want to have to deal with maybe all that training, or doesn't want to have to deal with extra rounds. So he get in this 3-round fights, he's not the main event, less pressure on himself. There's less rounds for those cardio fiends to try to, take advantage of him in those 4th and 5th rounds, or having to worry about those 4th and 5th rounds in the back of his head. He just had to worry about 3 rounds. And in 3 rounds, he feels like he can sprint for 3 rounds if he needs to. Whereas in 4th and 5th, there's kind of questions about that. So in this fight, I feel like Aldo is just a bad matchup for Volkanovski. I don't see Volkanovski have anything that Aldo has to worry about. He does have a good right hand that's kind of okay, but it's not like it's a one-punch knockout punch. He's not that as fast or explosive or athletic. He's more of, like I said, he's a grinder type of fighter. He's not going to wow you with explosiveness, not going to wow you with no amazing striking. His wrestling not going to wow you with amazing wrestling, but what he is going to wow you with is the fact that how high pace he can push and how he can keep it going and keep it going. But with Aldo, I think for Aldo, you're going to need some wow factor to beat Aldo. You're going to have some amazing takedowns, some amazing double legs, something amazing to take him out of his game, or some amazing striking. And when you have most people who have beat Aldo, or the only people that have beaten the championship Aldo are Max Holloway and Conor McGregor, who have phenomenal boxing. I don't think Volkanovski's even a quarter of what those guys are as far as boxing, as far as technique or power. Well, maybe a little bit more power than Max Holloway, but Conor McGregor, nah. And really, I think that Volkanovski can't really take Jose Aldo down, and if he does take him down, he can't hold him down. On the feet, Aldo's much faster, much more technical, much more experienced. Aldo's not a shot fighter. I think he could chew his leg up, jab him up, rip him to the body. I just think take him apart. I think Jose Aldo takes him out of there in the first round. So in this fight, I have Jose Aldo via first round TKO. Now slow it down a little bit. On to our co-main event. We have in the middleweight division, Jared Cannonier versus Anderson Silva. And Anderson Silva really should be in the red corner, but corners don't really matter. It's a fight at the end of the day. Your corner is not going to win you the fight. Your corner is not going to get you paid more money. And Silva's still going to be treated like he's the who he is. He's one of the greatest of all time, and he's going to be paid like it as well. But yeah, looking at this fight, I think a lot of people lean to Jared Cannonier because they feel Anderson Silva's so old and maybe he's chinny and this and that. And Jared Cannonier just beat David Branch, etc., etc. So he's looking all right. But really looking at Jared Cannonier's record, there's really nothing all that impressive about it. And going into this fight, really what people are leaning on is the fact that maybe not the pace he can push, but the fact that he has heavy hands. He's going to touch Anderson Silva and knock him out. That's really what everyone is leaning on. Well, not everyone, but what the people that are picking Cannonier are leaning on. The fact that Cannonier has power, Anderson Silva's old, he's going to touch his chin and knock him out. But look at Anderson Silva's record. Record in his career as far as MMA. You might think he's chinny. You might think he's been getting knocked out by everybody. But in his whole career, from start to now, in MMA, he has only been like stopped due to punches, like dropped, TKO'd, or like as far as strikes once in his whole career. I mean, overall TKOs, I think he only been TKO'd twice in his MMA career. And that was both to Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman, when he was playing and got caught. And then the second one when not playing with Chris Weidman in the second fight, but threw a heavy kick and got it checked and got his leg broke. So those are the only times he's been TKO'd. And he's been in with Derek Brunson, who's supposed to have so much power, took several of his shots. I don't think he ever got really wobbled in that fight. For Daniel Cormier, and though Daniel Cormier was kind of respectful of him and didn't really throw the best shots, he still landed some heavy shots, and Anderson Silva took those. Took some shots here and there in these fights. Against Adesanya, Adesanya might have been respectful against him, but even a respectful Adesanya is 10 times, 100 times better striker than Cannonier. Adesanya could not train, get out of shape, and he'd still be way better striker than Cannonier. So you can't really say, oh, he was playing with him or just being nice to him. He still landed some good shots. He wasn't like he was trying to go for head kicks. He was still trying to knock him out. He was just being respectful a little bit. And Anderson Silva still took some good shots from him. You can't take that away from him. And same guy dropped what's called iron chin, gassed him like 3 times in that fight. So Anderson Silva's chin certainly is not as glass or as worn out as people think. And to get kind of to the point, Jared Cannonier has only one shot to win, and that's by knockout or maybe really all starts with Cannonier hurting Anderson Silva. Cannonier is not a wrestler, so it's going to be a striking match. Anderson Silva could turn into a grappling match. So in a pure striking match, Anderson Silva is still one of the best in all of MMA. If it's just a pure striking match, and this is going to be a pure striking match, and Anderson Silva just has way more tools than Cannonier. And Cannonier is just going to be looking for one shot. And y'all know I don't just pick off, oh, this guy got that knockout power, and this guy is this and that. He's going to land a big shot. It got to be some more substance than just that. And I feel Anderson Silva just going to be able to pick him apart and just be leagues above him. He could pot shot him, hit him with front kicks, spinning back kicks, knees, and just pick him apart. I think he could be the fastest fight, even though he's 44. Definitely the more technical. And like I said, this gets to the point, I think Anderson Silva picks him apart. And I think he stops him in the third. So in this fight, I have Anderson Silva via third round TKO. Now on to our main event, we have in the women's strawweight division, Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. So in this fight, like many years back, or probably 3 to 4 years back, I don't know how long Andrade has been at this weight class, but I was saying it's maybe a bad style matchup for a lot of these women in this weight class. Namajunas being one of them. And even since Namajunas became champion, I see her as maybe a matchup that would allow, style-wise, allow Andrade to beat Namajunas and allow Joanna Jędrzejczyk to come back and beat Andrade again and once again regain her strawweight title because of styles. Just maybe being physical, maybe looking at the Carla Esparza fight, maybe looking at the Carolina fight, how Esparza was able to just grapple her and get that submission. I don't think Andrade would go that same route, but maybe in just the physical way she could kind of muscle around. And then maybe like, Carolina Kovacevic was able to take advantage of Namajunas in the clinch and kind of rough her up, be more physical with her. I think Andrade could do something similar to that. But then kind of like looking at some of these fights in recent and looking at, listen to, interviews from different people around the fight and around Namajunas that, like Pat Barry specifically saying that Rose has only really lost fights when he was messing up. And you got to realize that Pat Barry is more than just her husband. He was pretty much the guy who got her into combat sports, like her first coach for when she was like, 16, 15, 14. Really brought her up. She really got a lot of her style from him, at least on the striking side. He was like her first striking coach, her first MMA coach, husband, boyfriend, best friend, all that stuff. So we got somebody that close to you. And you realize that Namajunas had one of these kind of easily influenceable personalities when she had that bus incident and was all traumatized. So you got to realize with somebody like that around you messing up, maybe it did have issues. You see how Kovacevic got kind of outclassed by Karate Hottie, who Namajunas destroyed. Some MMA math right there. But basically, I just think that maybe Rose Namajunas is as good as she's looked so far. It's not just no fluke, not just no this. And I'm not saying those other fights were flukes, maybe stylistic matches. Maybe she can be that good against just about everyone else in the weight class. Maybe she can. Maybe it's not just that she has a style advantage over Joanna, but maybe she has style matchup to beat most of these chicks in this weight class. But yeah, I think Rose style presents a lot of issues for Andrade. Andrade, what she's gonna try to do, she's like a female John Lineker, try to get in, get inside, land big hooks to the body, go up top, rough you up, flip you upside down, throw you in your head, manhandle you. But she's kind of a slow plotting fighter. And Rose Namajunas, and she had issues with fighters that move. I saw her have issues with Tisha Torres, who moved. I've seen her have issues. Well, mainly the Tisha Torres fighting Andrade had to really slow her down before she can really get effect. Like she was losing them, I think, most of that first round. Then towards the end, she got a hold of her. Then the second round, the third round, eventually she pretty much got her where she wanted her. But with Rose Namajunas, she's probably one of the best, like, moving strikers or the mobile strikers in the weight class. Probably the best at the moment. And for Andrade, it's gonna be hard for her to get to her. Like, especially with Rose Namajunas, that's what she's supposed to do. She's good at movement. We hear from Gaethje that she's training wrestling, so she's prepared for that, dealing with a beast like Andrade, that physical beast that she has in front of her. And she's already gonna have the movement. She's gonna be the more technical striker, even though Andrade's gonna be the physical force. But really, I think Namajunas' movement's gonna cause her a lot of issues. The real issue in this fight, I feel, is kind of make it difficult that it's a 5-round fight, and how long can you run? How long can you move? But if you keep it technical, you can do that for 5 rounds. But straight up running, you're going to get caught eventually when you're technical with it, which Rose Namajunas is. I think she's going to be able to stick and move and really play matador to this board that is Andrade. I think it'll be a competitive fight. I think Andrade is the more physical fighter in most areas, where I think Namajunas is the more technical area. And we're going to see, is the gap between their technique bigger, or is the gap between their physicality bigger? That's what's going to come down. I think Rose, she's not trying to give up that title just yet, and she's going to come fully prepared, like it's seeming like she's coming fully prepared, use those angles, and make herself a hard target for Andrade. And even in the grappling exchange, she's going to be prepared to grit it out and go to war with Andrade in all these areas. But I think at least she's going to make enough, big enough gap in those first couple rounds on the points that if it does need to come down to this grit and grind, she'll at least have those maybe first 2 rounds in the bag. And then, like, when it comes to like the second, third, like the third and fourth, kind of might give those around away. Then in the championship round, she's gonna come back and be a champion and win that fight. I mean, win that round heavy, or win that round big. And I think I got Rose Namajunas via decision. So in this fight, I have Rose Namajunas via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC 237, Namajunas versus Andrade. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.